Oops, sorry, I did forget something. There is one massive problem with this class, and that is that you have to play the game with the sound off, because this is really, really annoying. Oh my god. Okay. Enough of that. Oh, that's so much more enjoyable. It's like playing Summons On with a brand. You can do it. It works. Not a brand. Wrath. It's just really, really annoying to listen to. This is much more enjoyable. So, devs, can we maybe just turn the sound down on the leap so he doesn't sound like he's, you know, masturbating with his weapon every time I attack something? That'd be appreciated. Thank you. So, did you ever wonder where the word core comes from, like in Marine Corps? Well, if you guys have watched this channel before, you know I've got massive hard-ons for Friedrich Nietzsche and Napoleon. And it comes from the idea that Napoleon would separate his armies into separate corps, the French word, C-O-R-P, which we copied on Marine Corps. And the whole point was you were going to have a separate army that could operate independently on its own, had its own cavalry, its own artillery, and that made them much harder to stop. As long as you had a competent commander, and then you had to pick a commander that wasn't the fifth son of the Earl of Sandwich or some crap like that. I know Earl of Sandwich would be in England, shut up. But the point is that was pretty revolutionary to actually pick military commanders based on their competence and have everything be a self-contained unit. Now, when the European powers started copying Napoleon's war strategy of creating their own corps, I think sometime around the third of the War of the Third Coalition, maybe? Third Coalition? Fifth Coalition? One of the two. The point is they weren't as successful. Napoleon still whooped their asses until he got to Russia, and that was mainly because his army was composed of a bunch of people he had defeated previously and weren't very loyal to him, and he sat around in Russia for a day being a dick celebrating his birthday instead of preparing for a counterattack. The point is, though, Napoleon may have had these wonderful, brilliant new military tactics, but when used in the hands of somebody inferior, they were not as good. You still needed the guy who could make everything work to run things. Now, I'm not that guy, but I certainly know that Great King David is not that guy. So this is Leap Barbarian, which I thought was utter trash, because I only saw King David play it on Ubers, and he died constantly on it. And I will say the survivability on this is a little bit less than Whirlwind, but here it is. Leap attack, yes, it has synergies with Leap and Bash. Great. You probably want these for the damage. You can get more survivability if you dump into Iron Skin or something instead, but I think at a certain point, I mean, I'm at 20k, and that's with a kind of a junky Gavel of Pain. I mean, if you had an F Gavel with 1600 damage and you actually had the Pride on the Merc or something like that, I think you could get into 40k damage easily. So you probably don't need that much, and you can probably take some points out of one of these two. And leveling, you're going to level with Bash, so you don't even need to respec. Max out your General Mastery, 1 point in all your 1 point wonders, blah, blah, blah. And you're probably going to dump into Battle Command, I guess, or Battle Orders if you want the extra life. I do have Battle Cry. I didn't get Grim Ward. You do not need Dexterity for this, because as you can see, Leap Attack always hits. However, don't forget that you need Dexterity for your War Cry sticks. A good player would remember that and not waste his respec. However, it's a standard litany of melee gear, right? Get a big weapon, get a Fortitude. Helmet can really be anything. This is a junky Crown of Ages because I like survivability, so I want the PDR and the res. Which I don't think I need the res. I need the res a little bit. But anything's really going to work here. Ariats is probably not actually a great option because the big thing about Ariats, I had one for my Whirlwind, which I just switched out of, is that nice 20% bonus to attack rating and all the other juicy stats. But, I mean, at this point for Leap, all this really gives me is extra skills, so the crown is going to be a little better. Might even switch to a Vamp Gaze. But either way, yeah, Burke has the Vamp Gaze on. Gores, any ring that you want. That one doesn't even do anything for me at this point, so you see it's a lot of upgrades here. Something with PDR on your belt, Dungos or a string, your choice. Canopy Frozen, if you can get it, on your amulet or something like that. I have a High Lord, it's probably your best in slot. Atmas, if you need the amp, I guess, if you don't have an amp on this. Or, what's the other one? Cranium Basher. But yeah, rings obviously going to be your choice, and then probably soul drainers are best in slot, I would assume. -5 physical res, hard to beat there. Beyond that, Merc. So this is interesting. I have on, because I was on Whirlwind, the Blessed Aim Merc, which isn't helping me now. I mean, I get the Deadly Strike from it, so what's my Deadly Strike at 57? It'll bump up to... Sorry, at 50. 36. So, yeah, so you get Deadly Strike from that, and that's pretty useful. Best Merc, I'm thinking it's probably Act 4, because you're getting Might. You don't really need damage. You really don't. I mean, damage is great, yes, but Act 5, cool. You can put on a beast. You don't need the attack rating. Act 1, maybe with the Vigor for extra speed. Go run a Mist and Templar's Might on it, sure. But I think the Act 4, which would give you Amp, you could put the Templar's Might. It'd be really difficult to get the strength up. And you can still use a Pride Staff. So that's Might, Conk, and Amplify damage. I mean, that's going to be kind of hard to beat. But really, it's your choice. By the way, you can use IK set on this. IK was a decent starter set. I know I said, oh yes, Whirlwind is expensive to start. It is getting up to here. I bought this for like a gull, but that was like, what, 3-4 weeks into the season now. I have not been playing much. This would have been more expensive at start. Same thing with the IK set. But now, at this point, I think 3 weeks in, I bought these all for 1 World Stone Shard apiece. And, I mean, it works okay enough. The problem with the IK set is still that it gives you a massive amount of survivability. You cannot die, but the damage is just not there. And that was the problem with Whirlwind, too. But say, 6k min, 9k max, it's consistent. It works well enough. And the weird thing about this, I didn't think this would be as good of a mapper as it was. I knew it was going to have some problems with Ubers because I've seen King David play it, and he's not really that great on Leap Barb with Ubers. He's much better on Whirlwind. But it's pretty fast, especially for having, quote-unquote budget gear here. I know that Gavel looks sick. That is not a great Whirlwind weapon. That's why it was cheap for me to buy at like a gull. Because the min damage is awful. Remember, for Whirlwind, you want some min damage so you're consistently hitting things in one pass. But the reason I switched was I was using Leap to attack to get around, and I realized I was proccing more Amp because I was hitting more things and going faster on Leap attack than I was with the Whirlwind. So, either way, I switched over, and even for getting the extra damage from my Warcry sticks, it's like, yeah, this is pretty good. So I'll put the map on in the background. I'm pleasantly surprised, and my charms are junky, guys. I got one okay charm here. These are all literally just fill-em-in charms and Bad Annie and a Bad Torch. So, I mean, maybe there's, the Fortitude's the expensive thing here. Everything else here can really be bought for a gull and under at this point in the season. Maybe early season, 6-socket weapons, hard to find, but go grab yourself a junky steel pillar or something. I mean, and you can see how the damage can ramp up. There's an Hellslayer with no sockets on it and basically min enhanced damage, and that's almost as much as the Gavel with all of the 400 ED, all the jewels in it. So you can see this will ramp up significantly on damage if you get a huge weapon for it and go down. Or a Bone Hew. I mean, a Bone Hew is a decent starter weapon too. I mean, look at that with 4 doles in it. I mean, 161 to 832? Look. I mean, that's almost the Gavel. You could start with something like that. And you could buy that for what? A World Stone Shard? Probably. So, either way, I'll put the map on. I think I switched to the IK set, just kind of show it off for a second and test it out and make sure it still worked as well as I thought it did. This is just a tier 2 because I am only level 87. You can see how much I have played this season. And don't forget, like I did, you need some dexterity to wear your other gear. That's it.
Can I help you?
Any dreams you guys want to discuss? Things you want to talk about? I guess I'll rank this. I'll rank it. It's in the in terms of tier clear. This is in the Barb community is going to tell me I'm doing it wrong because I'm not playing with my keyboard upside down and hitting the spacebar with my dick tier. So that's very, very high tier. Very high.